Awesome. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. I am seeing myself, Melody, Laura, Nicole, Larry, and Rich as the SAB members present. And somebody else is joining us. Oh, Brenda. No. Yes. Welcome, Brenda, Tanya, and Chris from the paper, as well as non-SAB members here. So we can call to order at 6:47 p.m. And the first thing on the agenda is to talk about the Boulder Bear Coalition grant. So, Brenda, it's to see that you're here. If there's anything you wanted to start and kind of provide us information over, and then we can talk about it.
Hi, can I just test the sound, make sure I can hear you guys?
Yeah, we can hear you. At least I can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear you though. Okay.
Hi, Rob. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Melody.
Let's see. Maybe while, can you hear us now, Brenda? Awesome. All right. So, Larry is the one who sent this to me to put on the agenda. So, Brenda or Larry, either of you, go ahead and take it away.
Well, I'll just say good evening and hello to Brenda, who I talked to on the phone. We had a long conversation, and I told her about our process and suggested maybe she could come tonight and talk to us about this. It's all kind of happening at once. She's on a short deadline, so I'll let her take it over from there. But I just wanted to say good evening and hello.
Great. Well, thank you so much for inviting me and adding me to your schedule. So I'll just keep it brief to honor everyone's time. And so I'm Brenda Lee and I live in Boulder. I don't live up in Nederland. And I run Boulder Bear Coalition as well as Colorado Bear Coalition, which was launched last year in response to all the stuff we were able to accomplish in Boulder and seeing a need for reducing human bear conflict across the state. But I've certainly worked with people up in Nederland since it's not far away. And we have a couple people who live in Nederland that are on the Colorado Bear Coalition board. So the reason I had reached out to Larry was that there's this grant right now that is up for anybody to apply, and it's called the CPW Community Human Bear Conflict Grant. And so they did this last year, was their pilot last year, and they're doing it again this year, hoping to do it every year. $1 million to go to communities across Colorado. Minimum ask is 50,000, max is $500,000. Last year, there were 2 communities that each got 200, close to 225,000. And so I was integral in working with a lot of people on their, on their ideas. And I was also on the advisory review board on who got, funds last year. So this year, the Boulder County Parks and Open Space, we've decided to partner together, because we've been working on bear issues across the county together. They were awarded funds last year and did such an outstanding job that they really wanted to share with what they did in Jamestown and Lyons, with other communities in Boulder County. So what they did with their funding last year is they got bear resistant trash cans, because that's the #1 reason bears are near people, because black bears are typically very shy, don't want anything to do with us, except when they're hungry. So they will eat our trash and anything else we decide to leave out for them. So Boulder County and myself, so we've partnered on this, and I reached out to local CPW officers, and Sam Peterson is the officer up there in Nederland, and I work with him regularly. I'm on meetings twice a month, with people in Boulder, and including Sam. And so I asked him if we could choose 2 places in all of Boulder County to focus on that are in his territory, what would that be? And hands down, he said #1 would be Nederland. And his person, Tyler, he works with him as well, and he agreed that Nederland could use some help. So basically, I did some phone calls. It was really hard to really come down to, well, what is it that's the problem in Nederland, and what is the solution? And Larry was super helpful chatting with him, because really the answer lies in the community, not from someone outside the community, or even necessarily with CPW, who has so much territory to cover. So a lot of what I do with Colorado Bear Coalition is help understand what the issues are in a community, and help them figure out whatever makes sense in their community. Every community is different. So and I have great relationships with CPW, and just can come in and get a lot of work that they're not able to do, because a lot of people don't trust them. Don't know if that's the case in Nederland, but he did say that there's a lot of underreporting in Nederland, and he sees this as sort of a ticking time bomb. There's going to be issues in Nederland with bears coming in more contact with people, especially with more tourism, summer homes, people moving here that are from areas that they've never dealt with bears before. And the thing is, storing trash is really a pretty simple thing to do. I mean, people don't like change, so that's usually the most difficult piece, is working with people that they can see that it's a benefit to them and the bears. And sometimes that message comes better from within the community, or someone who's kind of the voice for helping out the bears, versus the officer who might have to come in and kill a bear for getting into trash. So basically we're applying for a grant. We've already submitted in for signatures, and it's going to get approved on Tuesday at the commissioner meeting, which I will attend. And then it'll be put into the application pool. So we don't know if we'll get it for probably a month. What we're asking for Nederland specifically is 175 bear resistant trash carts that we will be providing. They cost with shipping about $350 a piece. So that's typically the biggest barrier for people using them, is the cost. The other barrier is actually trash haulers, but I've learned that most people up there go to the transfer station. So that actually makes things much easier, because we're not dealing with a trash hauler who's having to pick up the can, and maybe they're hurting the can and then they don't want to pay for it, and that just complicates things. So so this actually is really nice that piece isn't there. And what we would do is just offer it to residents. We'd have a website set up. We do some outreach so people know these cans are available. Larry had mentioned Old Town area that might be a good area to focus. And this is something we have time to really figure out what area to focus. And if that area makes sense, then we'll just let all those residents know that these cans are available. We're going to ask for $25 for a can, just so often when you have a vested amount into it, you're more likely to use it, but that we won't turn anyone away. That's just more of a psychology piece to it than the actual need to get that $25. And then residents outside, Sam had said there's some areas outside of city proper, like up near July, what is it, July 4th, that area up there. So that bears have been getting into trash. So it's really one small step in a much bigger conversation. And the fact that CPW's saying we really need to look at this tells me that this is a good thing to focus on. Sam wrote a really great letter in support of helping Nederland. And so I'd be excited to work with the city and just see what the community wants and where the focus of the cans can be. So it'd be about $75,000 that we're asking for, between storing the cans, which Open Space has offered that, transporting the cans up to Nederland using trucks and Open Space personnel to do that. We'll have volunteers to distribute on a certain day. Somewhere up in Nederland. We need to figure out all that logistics, but it's a pretty good sizable fund of money that people all over the state are looking to get cans. That's their main thing. And I looked up the Nederland Sustainability Advisory Board definition of sustainability, and I love it because it's talking about the ecosystem, and that's something I feel like is often not the topic when we talk about reducing conflict. It's more about how to keep people safe, or I don't know, it really rings true to me that we're really talking about how can we all be sustainable, and including the bears and keeping them safe, because there's more we can do as human beings at this stage, and not just call in someone to try and solve the problem by killing the bear. So that's me. And so would love to know what your thoughts are. We're getting letters of support from different groups. It's not necessary to have one from up there, but I think it would help strengthen it by just saying, yeah, this sounds great. We'll take some free cans, and it fits in with that kind of ecosystem sustainability model, especially as climate change and everything else. I think this is only going to become a bigger problem. So those communities that are already proactively doing things are going to be in a better position. So that's it.
Just confirming, is that landfill trash? These are intended for landfill trash?
Yeah, at the transfer station in Nederland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
meaning not compost or recyclables, but what's destined for the
Yeah, it's
landfill.
just the trash, just the trash. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts?
Not to sound ignorant. Well, I probably am sounding ignorant. I don't really drive around looking at people's trash cans, except around my neighborhood. I have noticed them, and everyone up here seems to get that has trash collected or has a trash can outside seems to already have a bear resist. I know I have two of these things, and one I don't even use. Is there an issue with? I mean, do people up here really not have bear resistant trash cans?
Apparently, yeah. I mean, that's according to CPW, and that's part of the work we would do is walk around and, see what areas don't have them. But according to CPW and their conflict numbers, it is an issue.
All right, I
You
say
know,
great.
And I know I've come up there. I actually went to some event years ago because I bought $5,000 worth of cans myself just to distribute and sell to people. So I sold some up there in Nederland. So I know there was a need then, but yeah.
Yeah, homeowners have bear resistant cans, but I'm not sure that I can say the same for renters.
You know, and it's interesting because there can be pockets of areas where people are so they don't want to clean up their own trash that's been strewn by bears, and so that's often a motivating factor right there. And but then for some reason, other areas, especially if it's a lower income area, um, which I think is true for that Old Town area, to buy a $350 can, which are really hard to find too. They're not just available at the hardware store. Um, that's a limiting factor right there.
Seems like the multi-housing might be a good target spot for that in that case, because that would be mostly renters and people who wouldn't invest in that. That's my first thought.
Okay, that makes sense.
Seems like a very good idea to me. I don't see any downside to it. But I think it's something we should take advantage of. I appreciate the opportunity.
Brenda, I was curious, what is you said you had $1 million for funding across Colorado. What's the source of that funding?
So the
is
source of
supplying
the
grants?
funding, so it's CPW, Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Last year, the governor had given $1 million to CPW to do this grant, and that was based on the federal funding that was given at the end of COVID, where it was the stimulus package, and so. So there was a lot of work done, across the U.S. on things that normally wouldn't have been funded through the governor's office. So, so that was a program funded last year. CPW this year has decided to continue it using their own funds, and they're hoping to continue this every year.
So you said this would be available to people outside of the city boundaries as well?
Well, I mean, I'd have to look at a map in Ned, but wherever is, within, like, if there's places up near Eldora, for example, Sam had said some of those rental properties are hit, and so it may be like the more information we gain, we can figure out, okay, where's a good targeted area to provide these cans.
Now that's a great interlude to my next question. I'm curious how you got to the number 175. Is that just with conference with Sam Peterson, or?
We got to that number because of looking at the overall grant ask and I did like a cursory map of that Old Town area, and it looked like there might be 140 homes. And so really using that as the benchmark was, okay, if we just focus on this one area and could monitor change, and then that would be great. And then let's have some other cans available for other areas if we focus and find that there's other homes that are maybe consistently a problem and can't afford a can. And this is a really different approach than like, let's have an ordinance where everyone has to have one. This is more like, no, here's some cans, let's see how it works. And then the more people get used to it, then it can become just the norm, because it's that positive reinforcement. If your neighbor's doing it and it makes sense, and the cans are available, then more people will do it instead of being forced to do it. I think you're muted.
You're muted, Larry.
I could just address the similarity of this grant in some aspects to the one that Leah and I just worked on for bear-resistant composters. And we had to also sort of come up with numbers based on, just rough, raw data and just sort of guessing, try to put it in a ballpark of plausibility. And so, and I shared this with Brenda, that this is hard work, and Brenda's sharing this right now. It sounds so smooth and easy the way she's presenting it, because she's doing a great job of presenting. But there's all this nuts and bolts, difficult, hard work behind even what she just told us right now. So I just want to thank her, up front just for that, having gone through it with Leah, on a similar grant, and it's difficult work. Um, the approach we took on in-town Nederland or outside, and it could probably work for this grant too, what we decided to do was prioritize town of Nederland. You know, we're asking the town of Nederland, you know, for endorsement, support, whatever. And so first dibs to them, and that's our attitude. However, at some point, the way the ebb and flow of just demand is going, after we've done our outreach and everything, we're going to know whether there's some supply to offer outside of Nederland. And so we would like to have sort of a waiting list. And you know, we haven't figured out the details, but that's the general, you know, gist of how we're going. And I think it's the only sensible way to go. And I would urge Brenda to, you know, if this gets approved, to consider that same approach, prioritize Nederland, and then, you know, maybe look outside. And I'm really thrilled about this. I have to tell you. I mean, it's like, wow. You know, you live in the mountains. How could you not have bear resistant? I mean, it's just like a square one thing. I understand Rich's amazement that they're not already available, but we do have in Nederland a significant low-income population, and it's renters, but it's also some people who own, who are just barely making it. And that's the reality. And so those are the people I'm thinking about, honestly. And so I'll stop right there, but thank you, Brenda, for presenting.
Well, thank you, Larry. That means a lot. It is a lot of work, but it's important. And I really believe in doing everything we can, especially when we have tools available. So, and yes, I would definitely, we'd be doing a lot of work on just trying to understand where to focus, and because we want it to be, you know, an effective program and to really help people who aren't able to, yeah, purchase cans or don't know they're available, or where to get them. So.
I wanted to add to that. Thanks, Larry, for mentioning that targeting for the grant that we just worked on. We targeted in town mostly because of our net zero waste goals and how we're measuring that. But in the case of bear conflicts, if Eldora is a hotspot for bear activity and there's a financial need there, I don't know that focusing on in town necessarily for this would be the same as the other grant for the composters, but.
Sam Peterson is giving a talk at the Wild Bear Center next week. And so he was going to try and get more information on where the community members that show up at that event, if they have ideas on where to focus as well. So, yeah, and yeah, because you all live up there, and so, you know, it's going to help direct where the problems are. Like, for example, Sam thought, well, maybe the dumpsters behind restaurants, but then I spoke with a woman who lives right on Main Street, and she's like, I've never seen bears getting into the dumpsters or, you know, trash. So, I mean, you really don't know until you look and walk around and talk to people. So the grant is this kind of more general 175 cans. This is a good start. Let's get the conversation going, and let's figure out what else might be happening too that we'll find out while we're there. All right. Well, I thank you all so much for your time, including me tonight. And I'll let Larry follow up with, I'll follow up with Larry. And, you know, if you felt comfortable with a letter, that's awesome. If not, you know, we have a letter from Sam, but it really is nice to know if the community is behind it, because it's a critical piece of a success.
Thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
All right. All right. All right. Thank you. I hope to meet you all in person sometime. I was planning to be up there in person. So maybe next time. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Brenda.
Great. Thank
All
you.
right.
Brenda.
Good night. Bye.
Thank you.
I mean, I feel comfortable, just writing a short letter that says, yes, the Sustainability Advisory Board of the Town of Nederland supports this grant and helping the community reduce human bear conflict by getting bear resistant cans. Does anybody second that?
I second.
So we will call a vote. Rich?
Yes, although I have a statement to make. I think that we are inviting ourselves to figure out ways to encourage members of the community to take these cans. And it's sort of reminding me of the struggle to get people to participate in our solar garden type thing. But that, I guess we will cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yep, we're just gonna keep trying. Larry? I see you mouth yes. Alan?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Nicole? I'm not hearing you if you're speaking. I am a yes, Melody. So I'm not sure what Nicole's vote is, but it definitely passes that we can do that.
Yes.
Okay, I see a thumbs up now.
You can hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody from the public who's not on the SAB board have anything to say about this?
I think I might be the only one that fits that description.
We got two
And
others.
yeah, I think it's a great idea. So sure, great thumbs up from the public.
All right. See a thumbs up from Tanya. Any other thoughts on this subject? All right. So the next item on the agenda is the SAB goals dashboard. So this time, I believe everybody had access to it now. So I guess I'll start by maybe just giving my comments, which is there are a few things that I felt like were blanks. So I think the original one had said improve waste diversion and educate the public. And I felt like we should put in the amounts, the percentages that we agreed to when we signed on to the Boulder County Zero Waste Plan. I believe it's 2013, and I'm not sure what that percentage in that year is, but that's just a simple, look back on the town website to find it thing. But so that I put in, I think like 2 blanks, that one and one on how much greenhouse gas percentage do we want to reduce? Like what is our target exactly there? And those were really my only edits. So we can move on to the other SAB board, and because we're virtual, I'll just start calling on people and ask if you have any comments or if you're in agreement of how it is with filling in those blanks, or you don't want those blanks that I put in. Rich.
I'm in agreement with those blanks.
Was there anything else on it that you had
No,
concerns
I'm
about?
trying to keep my talking to a minimum because every time I talk, my dogs seem to really want to bark. So
I know the
trying to,
feeling.
yeah.
All right, Larry.
I'm I'm still looking for your Boulder County zero waste reference. And I found that the GHG reduced 50% by with a question mark and monitored locally. I found that under climate. But did you enter, because I'm not seeing it on these sheets that I have, which were a printout. Well, I think it was the pretty recent. It's a recent printout from the Google Docs. So, I mean, is it on the sheet right now? What you just referenced about Boulder County zero waste plan? That
No. So it's in 20, I don't know if it was 2012, 2013, 2014, somewhere around there, the town of Nederland signed on to the Boulder County Zero Waste Plan and agreed to it. And in the Boulder County Zero Waste Plan, there are targets of some kind of what percentage we want to divert by 2030, I think.
so, that's all I really need for right now, just to clear that up. And I'm going to check this out. I'm the zero waste representative for this, and so it's totally going to be added. So thank you. And I agree. I'm really concerned about the GHG inventory problem in general. And I'm afraid that we're kind of looking like Mountain Hicks, to be honest. I really do. It's like, do we even have a clue? I mean, that's kind of where I'm coming from right now. Do you realize we are surrounded by climate? I mean, you do realize we are surrounded by climate scientists. I mean,
Yeah.
and I just find it embarrassing, and that we don't have more of a handle on this. So, so here's what I want to say, and I'll just stop on this. But it's like when I go back to our priority list, which is a kind of a big deal, because and we spent some time on this, but now I look at it, and back when we did it, it made perfect sense, and I was right. And I'd like to hear from Leah on this, actually. But now I'm wondering if energy transportation, given that there could be a snafu right now in terms of the whole system for EVs, and or maybe not, but there could be, and it could be beyond our control to bring about what we want anytime soon. So I just wanted to then. I'm just wondering if we could replace it, the third one, or I just want to float it, but I don't want to open up a big conversation. We have, this could go on forever. So I just want to stop with that thought, but I don't care. It's fine as long as our first two priorities, which are the energy thing that, is underway, and then, the renewable project, et cetera, and then zero waste. So we've already got that figured out. So it's like, that's most of the ballpark, as far as I'm concerned. This is a phenomenal list, though. We should be proud. In general, I'm holding it up. Are you kidding? Nederland, Colorado could think this big. So all I'm saying is I want greenhouse gases worked on, or I hope that it would be. Thank you.
Larry, I'd like to speak to that aspect. So PI, Partners in Energy through Boulder County, has some funding for a gap analysis, which I'm meeting with them, I think it's next week, to figure out how to move that forward. And that's for the electrification side. And then there is also some funding or free advising on the greenhouse gas side through a couple other organizations. So I do have that on my radar. I know that's a hole in our goals sheet, is really measuring that. It might have to come from a couple different approaches, but there are also some grants that might have to be more of a regional effort through Boulder County, but some of that will be included there too. So I appreciate that, Larry, and I do agree that we need to measure that a little bit better, and we're going after some of that, but it will the funding will probably have to come from outside of the town. Also, oops, sorry, I just thought of one other thing. Excel just released the data for energy consumption, which I think will help with our planning as well. And once I wrap my head around that, I will share that with the larger group.
The the community energy reports, you mean? For 2022?
Probably. That sounds right.
Okay. I've looked at them several times, so if you have questions about them, let me know.
Great.
Yeah, I'd just like to chime in on the greenhouse gas issues. We've been discussing this for years, and a lot of good work has been done. And I remember the capstone group from CU had some data in their report. And I think, you know, I think Leah's right in terms of needing to outreach to Boulder County. We have a lot of expertise in the area, but we don't have any on this committee that I'm aware of. And we have wrestled with this for quite some time. And it sort of comes down to me, where do you draw the circle in terms of saying which greenhouse gas? The biggest greenhouse gas emissions of Nederland, I would think, would be energy. And Excel is our partner, and I just got a email or a report from them the other day saying they're still 59% fossil fuel. So that's a lot of greenhouse gas emissions being emitted on our behalf. I don't know what that is per capita, but I'm sure it's substantial. So I think we need to bring that to their attention and always be twisting their arm, letting them know that we have these ambitious goals and we really care about what percentage of our energy is fossil fuel. And electrification is useless unless they meet their goals for 2030 and 2040. So that's, to me, the big greenhouse gas gorilla in the room that we have limited control over. On the other hand, I think we have demonstrated as a community that we've been doing everything we can in our turf to improve, getting people to sign up for various programs that Excel has offered us, as far as people signing up for carbon-free electricity. We had great responses. Solar's not going as well, but I think we've had at least one false start. And I'm really encouraged by the work Lowry's been doing with zero waste. So I think I'm optimistic, and we need more data and we need more information, but I think we're doing our part, and we need to continue to push on our partners to do their part. And I thank everybody who worked on these goals. I think they look really good. And the devil's in the details, but I think we have a good framework that we can use. And so I'm optimistic. And I appreciate all the work that's gone into it.
Any Alan, any other thoughts on other on the goals dashboard here or any changes to that. So it seems like we want to do something more robust on greenhouse gases.
You know, I think it looks pretty darn good. And I'm more action oriented. I think we've got the goals we need to frame what we want to be doing and, you know, using the goals as a stepping stone to the subcommittees and what the subcommittees are doing and what actions we're trying to take. So I think there's a lot of things we can be working on here. And I don't know that we need to agonize over more wordsmithing or additions. So I think it looks pretty darn good.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Nicole.
Sorry, I partly lost my thought, but I mean, overall, I would say it looks good, except for like the blanks that you identified. You know, it's specific. We've at least prioritized, right? And said, hey, these are the, you know, the top 3 that we really need to hit and make sure that we hit. And so I see a lot of value in just sort of narrowing it down. And the other ones are like, well, you know, we can get to them if those other, you know, 3, if we're making movement in sort of those top priority goals. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. Would that be correct?
I will just say thank you to Nicole. She was the one who suggested this prioritizing. And the process that we went through, those of us who went through it over 2 sessions, I found just wonderfully illuminating. And it was deep and it was thorough. And then we actually did it. We went through all these and we came up with the things that really mattered. And we got it right. I mean, I'm questioning number 3, but only because EV adoption might not be feasible right now on a time frame, you know, but I love it. And so thank you, Nicole.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, Larry. You did a lot of this documenting and putting it all into a format that we could process and digest. So thank you.
Well, can you guys hear me? Nicole, are you finished or?
Yes, sorry. That was
Okay,
all I-
no problem. I would just like to echo that I really appreciated the prioritizing sessions. I have really think that by prioritizing, more can get done. And I think the priorities that we came up with are sort of drilled down to an actionable level. With the energy, we have US Solar. With the Zero Waste has the in-vessel composter, and the EV chargers, you know, we're getting those going in, we're getting grants. So those are all things we have traction on. And then beyond that, I think we have great traction with the farmers market and the local food systems, and with Alan and Rich working on the watershed health. So I would kind of put those almost as the next 2 priorities. I think everything building on our strengths, I think is helpful. You know, if we have a way to move forward, I'm not aware, but there very well could be a way to move forward with the renewables for businesses. Has always seemed like kind of a roadblock a little bit. I could be wrong about that. Maybe there's more to it, but if we can focus on the areas that are, and you know, unfortunately I'm leaving the SAB, but this is just my opinion, that focusing on the areas of where we already have traction and actionable goals will yield the best results. And I think that the whole process of prioritizing will be really useful in the ability of the SAB to make progress over the next, you know, upcoming session.
Well, I will say, so the process that was started here for SAB, it was it's been picked up by some of the other boards. And so we've actually gone into prioritizing goals for ProSav. I just got out of that session. NDDA is asking for the same thing. So, be proud that, something like that has kind of gotten around. And so we've got the other boards wanting to do the same thing, and follow this lead. So I thought that was pretty cool.
So, as far as filling in the blanks on the greenhouse gas emissions, Boulder County adopted a goal of reducing emissions by 45% below the 2005 levels by 2030 and 90% by 2050. So I don't know if we want to go off of that, if we want to leave it blank for now, if we want to put in a different number.
Could we start with that baseline and then see what factors are different for Nederland and how we might adjust that with some professional help?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is our goal right now. But maybe we just want to take 10% off of each of those to be safe or something. I don't know.
Does Nederland have a baseline for what emissions are today versus what they are in 2005? Because the trend is typically upwards. So Nederland might be 20-30% higher today than 2005 without taking into account other savings that have come.
I know Garrett did have, we have an estimated number. We don't have exact figures, but we have an estimate based on county data trying to kind of extrapolate us. So I don't know, Leah, if you know what those numbers are, but I know they are somewhere in our documents.
Yeah, I'd have to dig for that.
Yeah, I know there is this data available. Where it is, I don't know. And at the same time, I think it's good to be in sync with Boulder County. And that gives them a signal that, we appreciate where they're headed. And now how can you help us to achieve those goals together? So I think that, being in step with them or being in sync with them is a good idea, even if we don't make the goal.
I do want to say the town of Nederland signed on to support the Paris Accord agreements. Does that have any GHG reduction goals in it? Because I know Mayor Chris signed that one. He's not mayor anymore, but.
What I'm remembering from all of those agreements is the idea of just reducing the amount of carbon that's being put into the atmosphere, reducing the loading. So we are so far away, to start thinking about any kind of reduction. It's, that's the opposite direction of where the planet's going, where all these agreements are. I mean, there's no reductions right now. We're just trying to stop adding, and we're not even so. We can dream on forever, but why not start now? I mean, we got to start somewhere, and I mean, we've already started thanks to the earlier SAB boards and committees who've already done some of this work that Alan talked about. So my concern, though, coming from more of a technical nerd aspect, is that we don't know what we're talking about if we want to talk about Nederland. And so if we just wanted to say, and we need Boulder County as much as they'll help us, but of course, but if we're going to claim any kind of territorial integrity about the watershed or about, you know, what goals we have that are sustainable and that are reasonable, wouldn't it be nice to have a GHG inventory? I mean, to me, that's just technical nerd square one. That's where you start.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at it. We have it.
I thought we had that data somewhere, so Ellie, could you share that with SAB to look at
Yeah.
after the meeting? And, you know, I believe we got the data from Boulder County. I think Erica reached out to them years ago and we got the data from them. I mean, they have the expertise and to provide that kind of information.
And that's for what
Uh,
year?
yeah, what year?
There's data for 2016 and 2018 in there.
Yeah, 2018 is the latest that I've seen.
Melody, I think you had asked about the Paris Climate Accords. I just took a quick look, and the best I can tell, the anticipation would be 50% reduction by 2030. Obviously, that's not going to be reached because I was looking at what the progress is. But I don't remember what you said Boulder County's was. But there you go.
45%.
Okay.
So similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then I have a 2020 status report, it looks like also.
That sounds much better to me than 2018, which is incredibly stale. But 2020, so that would be good. Could you put that in our our docs, I guess? Is that
So I just sent you guys the greenhouse gas emissions folder, and that has the inventory, that has the status reports that Garrett did from 2020, and he didn't do necessarily a full inventory, but he kind of did a general update. So the 2018 inventory's in there, the workbook that Garrett used is in there, and the doc called Town of Nederland Greenhouse Gas Inventory has the 2016 and 2018 numbers.
one last question, and then I'll stop on this, I promise. But is there a projection do you see, I mean, you know, forward projection?
I'm trying to look. It's my Google Docs doesn't like to work properly when I have WebEx open because WebEx slows my entire computer down and makes nothing else work, as I'm sure happens for others of you as well.
Well, it seems to me we should be checking in with Boulder County to see if there's anything more current than 2020.
I want to say I remember hearing something about them doing another one soon.
Okay. So we just want to get in the loop and make sure we get that information.
Yeah.
See if they can break it out at all for us.
What I can tell you is that residential sector is 50% of greenhouse gas emissions. Transportation is a quarter and commercial is a quarter.
And it looks like wastewater is a good chunk of the town's emissions.
Yeah, the wastewater treatment plant.
Which we are exploring grants or other funding to look at that one specifically in the public works and that emissions. And so this might be not Nederland as a whole, but these pieces that we might have to put together.
Yeah.
And if we know what our biggest sources of greenhouse gas are, it sounds like we do, then we can come up at a later date with a strategy aside from zero waste, which Larry's been doing. Are there other things we can ask residents to do to help us with managing those emissions? You know, maybe flushing their toilets less often or whatever the case may be, you know.
Feels
we're a
like
small
we are.
town,
Sorry.
so
We are asking a lot of residents right now, I think, with the solar programs and composting and things like that. Not to say that we shouldn't ask for that, but as Larry pointed out earlier, there are a lot of people struggling from a financial standpoint or other things, and so I want to be careful about what we ask without having the data to back it up or the resources to do that.
yeah, that's a very good point. And, you know, to me, it's sort of like, are the things people can do that don't hit their pocketbook?
Yeah. And I wanted to speak to Laura's mention of renewables for businesses as well. We work with PACE, which is now I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but Larry looks like he knows. They're coming around this summer, and they have been instrumental in helping a lot of the businesses get on renewables. For example, the Busey Brews build right now, they help them get the solar for that. And so I think that will help. You know, it's these different organizations that are helping piecemeal. And so from the business aspect, we have a lot of support there that is free for the businesses, and also in connection with the Green Business Association or network. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that, Laura, that part is being addressed, but more from a support side and not so much from the town making that happen.
Thank you for that reminder. I kind of lost that thread as to what specific things were being done in that area. So thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, getting everyone on solar is definitely the residential side of this 46%. So, yeah. I'm seeing like a 1% reduction in energy use from 2016 to 2018. That's like a 0.5% a year. We could do something with that number. There's also like a per person figure that we could look at. I don't know. Erica was the one that was real big on these kind of numbers, and I know she had very strong thoughts about it. But I'm not sure that I know as much about this as she does.
I can certainly ask her, but I also wanted to mention that because I think Nicole may have mentioned this, a lot of the technology is not quite there yet in terms of EVs or even heat pumps. It's coming along, but it's not quite there for our climate quite yet. But at least Boulder County and Excel's push right now is on weatherization and being prepared for that. So while we may not be able to get everyone EVs immediately, making upgrades to homes that will prepare for that infrastructure is a lot of the push and where a lot of the money will come from, at least over the next year.
Well, could I just jump in with that? Because, you know, I'm looking at our first priority, which is energy buildings. And there's nothing about what Leah just shared with us on this. It's not there at all. So I don't know. It's like,
Oh.
it seems like it ought to be there, shouldn't it?
Yeah, actually, thanks. I missed a key point of why I mentioned that, which is that weatherization piece will lead to less energy consumption, which is a key part of that greenhouse gas emission. So even if everyone's not fully electric, just having homes that don't waste as much energy, I think will help our greenhouse gas emissions. So that could certainly be a separate line item of some kind, but it is kind of all wrapped up in the greenhouse gas emissions and energy consumption. What are your thoughts on that, Larry?
Well, I mean, we could just list it under action steps, as the third column on this dashboard. We could just say weatherization or, outreach or something. The way this little dashboard works, that's about all the words you would get. It doesn't quite fit in with this other thrust on the document. And again, this is the nerd in me that wants things to be just so. So, wait. Now I apologize. Now going down to underneath on the second sheet, or 2 sheets here for me, other goals, we have energy buildings. Energy, okay.
So it's business and residential.
Yes. Well, maybe that, because energy buildings, if we wanted to think about residential or businesses both, but, businesses are so different, hard to, approach. The residences would be easier, for an outreach on weatherization, say with the county, if I'm just thinking, about a plan. Thank you, Leah, for bringing this up. This is exactly, this is why a document like this is, to me, is such a great thing, because you get all this actionable material rising out of like the, what people are really interested in. So I don't know, I guess, because we, just have us move on. I wonder if I could write just right now. I mean, or I guess I'm asking, but if you want, we could, it's down the list. It's not on the high priorities. If we're putting it down under energy buildings, and maybe that's where weatherization ought to go, as opposed to, achieving our 100% renewable electricity goal, which by 2025, which is a big deal. So if you want me to, then, unless somebody does want me to, say so, but otherwise I could put it under energy buildings as, let's say, an action step, something like weatherization with Boulder County, something like that.
Yeah, they are offering some free services, and one of the action steps that we are already taking is Britt from planning through the town and I are creating some resources for the people who are requesting permits and doing new buildings, and letting them know the incentives and rebates that are available for solar. And she has mentioned too that she has had a huge uptick in people requesting solar, and some of them are just kind of waiting on the codification of solar in our town code, and it's sort of in a limbo. So I would say we are taking really good action steps towards that one in helping people on the residential side make these upgrades, as well as Boulder County offering, I don't know if you remember, I think this was before I was in this role, we had the free energy audits through Excel in Boulder County, which I took advantage of. I know some other residents did too, and that was part of the weatherization effort as well.
Is there any sort of like amount of homes that you guys target? Is there specific, like, I get the steps you're taking.
Do you mean for weatherization or upgrades or electrification?
For weatherization, because electrification is in here and increasing density in town is in here. But I guess, well, don't we have energy efficiency in here somewhere?
do believe so. To answer your question, we don't have any specific goals for weatherization, and that I think is a little harder to measure too. Not that we couldn't measure it, but for example, when I had my energy audit, I didn't have any changes because they're sort of limited what they could upgrade, but I don't know how we would track that. Like if the home's already efficient, if there's a way to check. I'm open to how we might track that, but I'm not sure at this point how to go about that quite yet.
Yeah,
Tar-
so I know with PIE, and then when we've worked with Dave at the county in the past, I don't know if he's still doing the energy smart stuff that he was doing, or if they got someone else in there at the county, but it was we didn't necessarily measure how much better their home was, but we definitely took a measure of how many people are participating in this program and how many people do we want to participate every year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll ask Pi in our next meeting how they're tracking that.
Yeah, agreed. Because I think just getting people that an audit or just, just like as Melody's saying, just kind of participating in the program. I mean, if it turns out that they're already a tight ship and everything looks great, awesome. But the more people that participate in that, more likely we're going to catch folks that do need the, the additional counseling and help.
And just checking, would that be anyone in Nederland or in town specifically?
Mm.
And what would be the border, right?
That's always the question, isn't it?
Yes. I could just ask
Not-
both, see what they can measure.
Yeah.
I just wanted to chime in here with respect to energy efficiency versus weatherization. I think convoluting those two could be dangerous. Weatherization is more of a conservation effort, and energy efficiency is doing more with less. So I think both of those could be pulled apart and attacked in different ways.
Yeah, I guess I'm lumping the two together not because they're the same, but because generally what we're dealing with up here is cabins without insulation that used to have a wood stove that are now becoming electrified, or taking out their gas line and now becoming electrified. And so now they're electric heat, and now they're pushing all that electric heat out into the air because the home is not insulated at all. And so the weatherization efforts is that insulation, plugging the gaps, getting in better windows, putting in the door strips, etc. So I think that's why I'm lumping them together.
Yeah. And when people are, let's say, installing a heat pump, they may also make these other upgrades at the same time, and they would both probably go through planning. And so we do want to hit them on both fronts if they're making changes to their home. But appreciate that differentiation.
I kind of agree with Rab, and they are different in a certain way. One way to solve it, though, if we want to keep it under energy buildings, which is where I now have the weatherization part, but we could just under objective, underneath the one where I'm reading electrification plan for residents and businesses, in between that and increased town density, we could simply put in an objective of increased building efficiency. And once again, you're squeezing a lot of meaning into just a few words to make these little documents work. But if we knew what that meant, and then we saw weatherization as an action step, then it would, I don't know, it would make more sense to me, but I understand what Rab is talking about.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to have a light touch on my comment because I'm very new to this group and an invited guest of the public. Um, but yeah, energy efficiency is putting in that heat pump. It is changing appliances to more efficient appliances. It's about your mode or method of consumption, and weatherization is conservation of the energy that you put into heating or cooling your home. Um, energy efficiency could encompass things that have nothing to do with weatherization, and that was really the point of the comment, was that we could be talking about having more efficient refrigerator, and that doesn't have a lot to do with heating your home.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to like type up what you were saying, Larry, to add in here. And I've got it highlighted when you look at the document in the drive so you can see what it is. What do we Okay. What do we want to do about the greenhouse gas thing? Do we want to not put a number in there for the next year, and then later on down the line in 2024 or 2025, SAB can decide what that number is?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think we need more information from the county. And then get back to it as soon as we have that information.
I agree.
I agree too. I'm wondering, Melody, could you note that? I hear you typing. So I'm wondering, could you note that in our working document, what you just said?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's typing up a whirlwind in that document right now.
I hear little clicks.
I know Miranda usually tells me, you're not muted. I can hear you typing. But this time I think it's appropriate. Let's see. What else do we have in here that's blank? So I'm trying to think of a way to not make this just improve building efficiency, because I do agree that that's an important distinction, Rab, and thank you for bringing that up. As a person that lives in a home, when I'm going to do one, I'm going to do the other too, and so they just come together. But you're right, they're two separate things. So we are looking to not just improve the energy efficiency of the building, but we are looking to improve like the thermal conservation properties of the building. I don't know the best way to say
I think in public programs that's just typically referred to as weatherization, even though it may be adding insulation, it may be adding weather stripping. Yeah, I think that just falls under.
Incentivize weatherization efforts.
That's a dangerous word. Do we have?
I don't know, but I just feel like improve weatherization of homes is weird wording and it doesn't feel right to me. But maybe I'm just crazy.
I'm liking incentivize, and I think it could fit. I do, but would this be under objective, Melody? Is that where you were?
This is along with, so energy buildings on a lower level goal. This is not our main energy building goal. Our main energy
Right.
building goal is 100% renewable for all residents. Lower down, we've got an electrification plan that we want to develop eventually. We need the baseline data to do that. We wanted to note increasing town density because of all of the various housing and building project things that are happening at a larger town level. And then adding in improve energy efficiency and incentivize weatherization efforts.
I think we should put it in just the way you just said it. I really like that.
Okay, perfect. Done. Okay, so I want to say that when we did pie, I'm feeling like we had 4 or 5 people every year that participated in some sort of Excel rebate, whether that was getting an energy efficient fridge or improving and updating their lighting or whatever. There's several different programs that Excel offers. I want to say we had 4 or 5 people a year do that. And then there was also 4 or 5 people a year that went to Dave at the county to do some sort of weatherization efforts, like increasing insulation or redoing some doors or improving their windows. So I feel comfortable saying that our objective is that we have at least 10 community members annually participate in some sort of program. Does anybody not like that number?
Like it. Larry, you're muted.
Excuse me for being a nerd again, but I like that, but I think it would be under achievable metrics, what you just said.
Correct.
Next, oh, is that what you meant?
That's what I meant. Sorry, I didn't
okay.
specify that I was moving on to the next column, but yes, you're correct.
Okay.
I don't know if this does not count because it's not through town, but the federal incentives are also being advertised to our residents through the town planner and also hopefully on our website soon. I know that that's not our effort, but still will help our goal. And that includes heat pumps and EVs and things like that. Later this year, next year.
Okay. Yeah, so then the next section over is action steps. So have information available on opportunities for any permits that are pulled at town hall. Is that what you're talking about? Like people that are coming to build anything? Or are you rating even more than that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
So you're saying you're having this information available to people at town hall. Is it available to people that are coming in for a building permit of some kind?
Yes, and we've also used it in some outreach materials. And when we do our bigger solar campaigns this summer with Peter, who's now our PR, I don't know his title, PR guy, we will push more of these. The information for the federal incentives aren't out yet for a lot of it. It says it's coming nowish summer 2023. And so we don't have all the information yet, so we're not pushing it, but that it does provide tax incentives and also instant rebates for people who would make those upgrades. So with our town website and also the planning department, we hope to at least educate people on the other incentives available outside of the county and state. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So I have here typed. Have information available on opportunities for all who inquire with the planning department. That includes town, county, federal, and NGO efforts, programs. Is there anything else we are doing? So county obviously has their incentives and their things that we're doing, and we're promoting that. And it's great to hear that we're now getting this dialed in, because I know that's been a want of ours for a very, very long time. So that's awesome, Leah. I'm super happy. But is there anything else you can think of that are action steps that you guys are currently taking or planning to take in the next year?
Well, I wonder, with Wild Bear's new build being I think she said net positive building, so putting more energy onto the grid than they're using, is that factored into our goals? I mean, that's not our success, of course, but as a business in town, would we want to strive to have more buildings like that? Or I'm curious what everyone thinks about how that fits into our successes and metrics.
Well, just kind of an initial thought coming off of your comment is like, what does it take to get a building to be net positive? And is that something that's scalable within our town?
Well, great, you should ask. Soon I'll be meeting with Corey from Wild Bear and Rab here, and start our energy subcommittee back up, hopefully. So if anyone else would like to be involved, please contact me directly. But I hope that we can answer some of these questions in the next meeting. These are all really good ways of tracking this, and I will need to ask these other experts, for example, how Wild Bear is accomplishing their energy goals. And so on that note too, do we have LEED rated buildings in town, or would that be something we'd also want to put in our metrics to have, say, some LEED platinum buildings? Or actually HubNet is, isn't it?
I believe the community center is LEED as well.
Okay.
There's a big debate years ago about LEED. And I think the conclusion was we want to encourage those standards, but we don't necessarily feel it's important to spend thousands of dollars getting the certification.
I see.
So you can, do a lot of things in building that meets those standards. And I think the town has talked about encouraging LEED design and build, but it's, feeling it's unrealistic to expect a business to spend thousands on the certification process.
Mm-hmm. And if we could somehow get that funded, would that make a difference for us? Or it's more about just being close to that level of efficiency?
I think it's more the meeting the standard rather than having the label.
Yeah, great. That's helpful.
Yeah.
I know a little about this subject. Uh, so there are the LEED standards, and then there's the LEED certification that the building meets the actual standards.
Right.
And so what we're talking about, the expensive part is the certification.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because the
Kennedy was-
standards available, that's just free information. Anybody could, look them up. And so there are other organizations that provide, you can see how this gets sticky, because what if you are asking for grants or tax breaks or something for your LEED building? Let's say that you want to build a remodel, and you just say, don't worry about it, we'll do it. As opposed to bringing in a LEED certifier who says, yeah, they did it. So this is a big subject, and all I will say as an environmental radical is that the whole world is going to LEED standards, and I'm talking platinum, and or gold, at least gold, platinum, and the sooner we get there, the better. But we have to be rational about the economic system we live in, and how people's expectations, and so that's the dance that we're doing. And it plays out at this municipal level of ordinances and such. It does, and it's a big deal. But for the Sustainability Advisory Board, if we're not thinking big, then who is? Nobody is. So I don't know. I guess I just want to separate the idea of LEED standards, and that's something. All you have to do is say it. LEED standards. You don't mean the certification. You just said standards, and so in terms of like ordinances or incentives to builders here, it would be very simple to write something up that talked about LEED standards without demanding the rather expensive certification. And I think that all that could be done through a normal building inspection process. I'm convinced that it could, more or less. A little bit more would be added to normal building inspection. Nothing like the LEED certification, but we would get the LEED standards. So, but this is a deeper subject than this. It really is, because now you get into the standards, what they cost. Oh my gosh. So, I don't think we should go much further on the goals, frankly, this evening, so we don't wear ourselves out. But I'm so impressed with the work we've done. And I'll stop right there. But if anybody has any last thoughts on this, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, the only thing I would say under the rights of nature, protecting the watershed, under action items, we're partnering with Boulder County, the state of Colorado, and the city of Boulder. So we're partnering with 3 entities, not just Boulder County. Otherwise, I think it looks good.
Perfect. Yeah, I added those in, and I got the one ordinance number 2021-11. This other one, we'll talk about in a few. Once we get it passed, we can add that ordinance number in there, and then we're kind of done. It just doesn't have a number because it hasn't been presented to the BOT and passed yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I added in state of Colorado and city of Boulder there. And so I think that's it. I think that's the end of the goals document. So we added in the piece about energy efficiency and weatherization. We did not put a blank for greenhouse gases, and we just left it as reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And then, so I found the zero waste numbers, and maybe this is why we don't want to put them in there, because it's kind of sad. But improved diversion rate 70 to 75% by 2018, and darn near zero waste by 2025. So the Boulder County resolution is to achieve zero waste by 2025 and or darn near zero waste by 2025. which I believe when we looked at, and I sent this to Larry, but it's also in the drive. In 2020, Boulder County did a score of all the communities in the county that had signed in on to the zero waste plan and how we were doing. And there's several things that we could tackle, and there's several things that we just can't tackle because they don't apply to us. And then we have the C&D program, which kind of puts us super far ahead of everybody else, but then nobody's really using it, so we're not really far ahead of anybody else in the actual diversion rates. So our score is not that great, but I want to say, this is going off memory, that we were like 30% by 2020, 30% better by 2020. And they wanted us 75% or better by 2018.
Well, in my humble opinion, if you don't add budget funds or grant funds and an action plan on a parallel track to these hopeful resolutions or hopeful, forward thinking, they're just not worth very much, and so there's partnerships have to be made. It takes a long time. Grants, where's the money come from? It's expensive. So we're not even close to any of those numbers. I mean, it's almost laughably off base. And I'm on the zero waste subcommittee. I'm deeply involved in this stuff, and it's incredibly difficult. I can't believe it. And so if we didn't have Boulder County as an active partner, we would really be in trouble. So, but we do have them, and things are going forward, and there is hope. I think like big hope. But these numbers that you just described to me, and I don't know how I missed them before, or maybe I blocked them out. But we're not even in the ballpark of those numbers, and I'm embarrassed to say that.
Well, maybe
Well,
it's revising.
Yeah, so we aren't in the ballpark, but we also are better than a lot of other communities. So don't feel too bad, Larry. Okay. It's kind of like the greenhouse gas emissions Paris Accords. Yeah, we want to be 50% better in 10 years, and a lot of people are worse, and some people are just a little bit better, but no one's come close to that goal. I think that's kind of what happened with the Boulder County zero waste goal too. It's especially this whole compost thing, threw a wrench in everybody's plan this last year. So that's a whole nother story. But so how about this as what I'm going to propose? We're going to improve the diversion rate in accordance with the Boulder County Zero Waste Action Plan.
And for the C&D, Boulder County is going to help us with that program in June, or actually resource, I should say, because they helped Boulder County set theirs up. And so to your point, Melody, we are well ahead in having that program. We just need to get people to use it, which is an easy metric, right? If we've had I think 0 people use it. Anything higher than that is an accomplishment. So pick a number. And if we have 5 people use the C&D program, right, in the next year or something like that, maybe that's a way that we can measure that. But yeah, we plan to have that up and running and to actually advertise it and incentivize people to use it.
And for anybody who doesn't know what that means, C&D, construction and demolition recycling.
And I want to say, Larry, too, in all of my meetings with the other counties, they are just as frustrated, and they're way ahead in some areas and way behind us in other areas. Like it's all just, we're doing the best we can. But everyone's kind of in that boat, especially on the composting side and the EV side. And really, we're all having those same struggles.
Okay, so that is all of the issues, I believe, resolved on the goals document. Oh, no, I had one more question. What Soul Smart designation did we receive? Or have we received one yet?
We are very close to receiving, I can't find my notes at this exact moment. The lowest level, we had just one more thing that needed to happen, and Britt, the town planner, is working on that last item, and then we can go through for the next certification. So yeah, we're really close to getting, I think it's the gold, and then we'll be close to silver. We have to do another 100 hours and a couple other things, but basically we get some free advising, and then we get more free stuff. We get the next. But let me ask that for the.
Okay. So the lowest level possible is bronze. The next level up from that is silver. Then it goes to gold and then to platinum.
Okay. WebEx is not allowing me to search my email at this moment, but I will get back to you on that.
Let's see. Silver level is completing a permit staff training and inspection staff training, completing a zoning clarification, and having a solar landing page.
Okay. We are at gold. We're nearly there. Gold, and then silver is the next one that we'll be going for.
Did you mean bronze? And you said gold? Gold is at the top.
The navy bronze. Sorry, that's my dog making noise. I'm going to mute myself.
It was like your stomach growling or something.
I know, I was going to say, it's not me groaning. She just, yeah, past her bedtime. She'd like us to know.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll hurry up, honey. We'll hurry up.
Okay. And real quick, again, not to sidetrack this whole goals discussion, but it is on our goals document, so I'm bringing it up, that there will be an investable composter at the transfer station by 2024. Is that still correct? Because I have heard otherwise.
Leah, I mean, you can speak to it, but she and I have both been in contact with Cody on this in depth. And Leah, speak up on this, but we are of the opinion that we absolutely will have that impeller compost in place in 2024. And we want to start doing contingency planning, kind of big stuff, big grant stuff, based on that contingency. So we have to get everything bolted down. But Leah, do you have anything to add to that?
I would like to add that it is an email.
Cutting in and out.
Sorry, say again.
You're cutting in and out.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. We have it in writing from Cody, so I would say it's safe to say that it was happening because it's in an email that we are getting at the transfer station despite the obstacles we have overcome so far. So yes, we're moving ahead with the assumption that that is happening because that's what we're told.
Okay, because I really, really hate to rain on everybody's parade, but somebody else that works for town said that there is absolutely not space for them to put it there.
How long ago was that?
2 days ago.
Well, we actually, oh,
with
Leah,
that. But
if-
yeah, go ahead.
well, we actually had a series of conversations, a month ago or so, wasn't it, Leah, where about this. And Leah, Cody was sharing with us his concerns that the units that he wanted to bring there would not fit. And so that was when we got these first reverberations of problems, and that really concerned us. But then time passed. He did some more work and came back to us and then said he's found a unit, and he hasn't shared dimensions yet, but he knows what he's doing that will fit. And so, Leah, I mean, is that your understanding?
Okay. Then we're going to leave it in and we're going to keep that and say that that's the official word. And I said nothing. We're going to ignore what I said. Because, sometimes people hear things wrong. I don't know. I just, how small towns work. Okay. All right. So that is for sure all of the issues resolved on the goals document. So I believe this goals document is now complete and ready to be approved if others feel comfortable with approving it, having me just typed into it here in front of us.
I move approval of the goals.
I'll second that.
All right, and we will call a vote. Larry.
Larry,
Alan.
we can't hear you. Oh,
Yes.
Nicole.
yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Rich.
Yes.
And I am a yes. So we have unanimously approved the SAB goals for 2023 to 2025. Yay! So we'll make it pretty and get it sent over to Miranda and Peter so that we can get it posted on the website. And, everybody keep going back to it, keep referring back to it. These are our priorities. This is where we want to put our efforts, right? Number 3 action item here is to pick a date for the presentation of the Guardians of Nature resolution.
So we need to know which BOT meetings they want us to attend.
Yeah, so we need to figure out which BOT meetings we can have a SAB member attend. So I'm looking at the 2nd of May, the 16th of May.
Rich, can you be there on the 2nd?
Is that correct?
The second, I'm just trying to think through that. The second is going to be Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah, it's next Tuesday. I'm going to be out of
Yeah.
town.
Yeah, I can be there Tuesday.
Okay, great. So Rich can be there on Tuesday.
So the thing that, let's see, what did Miranda?
That may be too soon for them, though. They probably already have an agenda set. I don't know.
Miranda asked us to get back to her, so.
Miranda sent us an email. Let me see if I can pull it up. Maybe she just sent it to me.
I think she asked for a couple dates just so she can plug those in and mentioned that she can't hold a specific time. So you need to be available for that window, please.
I'll be available if on any date I can make it. I can make it the 2nd. Let me take a look at my calendar for the 16th since she wants a couple of dates.
I know I can't make it on the 16th. I'll be out of town.
Let me see here. I can make it the 16th. In fact, I think 16th. Hang on. I think the 16th would be better for me.
Okay. So why don't we offer them Rich on the 16th? Thanks for doing that, Rich.
That's not a problem. And then any date thereafter, the 16th, I should be able to make as well. So if that doesn't work,
Yeah, I cannot find this darn email anywhere.
Hey guys, it's Macy. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I think the 16th, I'm just looking at the forecaster for the Board of Trustees right now, and the 16th does look good. This coming Tuesday on the 2nd, we already have 3 discussion items, but on the 16th, we don't have any. And then on June 6th, we have 3 again. And then at the end of June doesn't have any. So the end of May or the end of June. And then July is pretty open as well.
Okay, so tentatively shooting for the 16th of May.
hang on a second. I may be miscalculating my what that is. I'm just looking. Okay. It looks like actually I will be arriving from Indonesia at 2:39 p.m. on the 16th. And I don't want to count on that flight going through. So maybe we should go to whatever the next available date is after that.
What
June
about
6th?
June
Yeah, that's
20th?
absolutely not a problem.
What about June 20th? Because we already have 3 discussion items on June 6th.
June 20th is absolutely open for me. Yeah.
Okay, can we tentatively put it there and I can check with Miranda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And the other thing that maybe you mentioned this, Leah, and now I'm remembering that maybe you did. The other thing is just to be aware that you're gonna need to be on the meeting for several hours, and you may or may not get bumped to the next meeting after being on the phone call for 3 hours.
That's
know,
fine. And I'll
They
probably just
try
go.
not to make that happen, but be very aware it is possible.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. I think that covers that action item. And if my computer will work again. All right. The next thing to discuss is the drop mobility e-bike thing. And I'm so sorry that my calendar didn't put the invite on my actual calendar and I didn't actually make it. I hope Larry showed up with you, Leia.
Actually, I couldn't make it that day. I don't know if she's
Oh, I couldn't either.
but I don't know if she's still with us, Leah. But she really liked it. She was excited, and they're coming back. And I think that's what she was going to tell us. I was sorry I missed it. I'm all for this stuff. So, but I don't really know anything more than that. But they're coming back in May, and well, let's just leave it at there, maybe, because I don't think there was anything more to that than that. But she was impressed.
Okay. I didn't realize that she dropped, but it did. She was cutting in and out, so I probably technical issues here. Oh, is she coming back? No. Did we lose someone else? We lost one of the town clerks.
I noticed that. I'm still here. This is Macy.
Yeah, there was 2 of you for a while, and now there's only 1 of you on my screen again.
I'm glad you noticed. The other one was Leah, so let me send her a quick text, but I'm still here with you guys and we'll keep it going.
Okay. This isn't on the agenda, But while we're here, is there any subcommittee updates? I know that the Renewable Energy Subcommittee has not met, so I don't have any updates for that. Guardians of Nature, obviously, we're moving forward with, so no updates probably there either.
Well,
Zero
yeah,
waste.
about a month ago, I sent a whole bunch of information out about the watershed with respect to activities at the gold mine. And that was a
Yeah.
hearing, a state hearing. And so that all got forwarded to SAB and BOT. Other than that, nothing at the moment. But I'll be monitoring and staying in touch with Rich about anything on the horizon.
Perfect.
Nothing to report from Zero Waste. We've been meeting and we've been doing some big thinking, but nothing actionable to report.
All right. And so then I put on here to just greet Rab. Thanks for your interest in joining us tonight. It's great to have as much expertise as we do in the area. And so anytime, any to join us, we're happy about that. And we do have some vacancies coming up that I believe Miranda kind of told you about. But if you wanted to introduce yourself or tell us about yourself in any way, you can feel free to do so now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. My name's Rab. I moved up on Ridge Road, so unincorporated Nederland, in about 10 months ago. At the same time, I started working at the National Renewable Energy Lab office south of Boulder, the Flatirons campus. And I've been in renewables for about 10 years now. So I've been working everything between residential solar energy through approaching gigawatt scale solar installations and megawatt scale microgrids. So I have a background in electrical engineering, grid integration, and then also a little bit of yeah, my degrees are in environmental and chemical engineering. So a little bit of a diverse background, but I have the most depth in energy and EVs, renewables, these types of aspects. Yeah, and so I wanted to reach out and get involved in whatever way I could to try to improve things in my community. And searching the town website, found that this group existed. Otherwise, had no idea. So glad that I could join the meeting tonight.
So I'd like to encourage you to apply to the board, and we do have the vacancies and would love to have your expertise.
Yeah, I last weekend I was at Wild Bear and I met Leah and Larry and also Corey. Looking forward to meeting other folks in this group, but absolutely would be interested in the board position if as it's available.
Great.
Well, I wonder if we could just do everything tonight. You would, technically, you need to appear before the BOT, the Board of Trustees. So they're the ones who do the appointing. You'd have to get on the agenda. So you just saw what we went through. If Macy is still with us, maybe we could figure out a date. But other than that, I mean, I'm I was thrilled to talk with you, and I'd be thrilled if you were to join us.
Thank you, Larry.
So on that note, We do have, I believe, is it just one, Macy? Is it just Laura's seat that's coming up?
To my knowledge, that's all I'm aware of. Yeah, that's all I know of. There could be more, but that's all I'm aware of.
So you have an alternate, and our alternate is currently Patricia Dowd. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. So we have at least one coming open. Is that June or May?
I'll have to pull up that email from Miranda. Laura, are you on and can you clarify when
It's
your turn?
June.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. I think my confusion is that Laura's last official meeting will be May and the new person's first meeting will be June. Does that sound correct?
That does sound correct.
Okay, there we go. So that will go out to the public. Rab, if you're interested, you know, fill out the application once Miranda kind of puts that out to the public. And then the sustainability board usually makes some sort of recommendation to the BOT if we have a particular candidate that we like more than others. But the BOT ultimately is the one who appoints and chooses that person. And so the next two things on here are really just reminders to get through. So I think we can get through and be done in our 2 hours here. Volunteers are needed. It is summertime almost. I know there's still snow outside, but you know, that's spring in Nederland. So Town of Cleanup Day is in early June. Farmers Market is starting back up on Mother's Day, so we will need people to help out the Zero Waste Committee and our solar efforts, talking to people and tabling at the farmers market throughout the summer. So please be thinking about how many markets you might be able to attend to help us with those efforts. And then also at the carousel, we need help doing just deadheading and weed pulling in the garden in May. So if anybody wants to help out in the garden for 2 or 3 hours, email me directly for that for the carousel. If you want to help out with the farmers market, email that farmers market email, or you can contact me. If you want to help out for Town Cleanup Day, contact Miranda, or I don't know if we can contact you too, Macy.
Yes, you can send anything to my email, and then I can pass whatever to whoever. I'm happy to do that. And then if it's for me, then I will keep it and work on it.
Perfect. And then the last thing is that we have the event with Dr. Amadi on Saturday on the 29th. That's going to be at the community center conference room. And because that is a small room, we do need people to RSVP. He has done a lot of great work, and Tanya, who's on the call here, is helping him with some of the classes that he's running down at the university. And so we just think this will be a really, really great connection and a way for us to figure out you know, how to leverage all these college students that are learning all this amazing stuff in helping the town, as well as just pick his brain and figure out what he feels like is best for Nederland. So I'm excited about this. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about it either, Tanya. Do I have a poll of yes, I may be going on Saturday? I know I am.
I'm trying to make it work in my schedule, but it's in my calendar, so we'll try to get
Awesome.
there.
Awesome, awesome.
That's all I got. Does anybody else have any other business?
I guess did speak with Leah on the phone, and she said that she was supposed to present about electronic bikes this evening, but she's going to follow up with you all via email instead.
You can let her know that sounds great and thank her. We
Yes, thank
all
you.
understand the tech issues.
Yeah, her internet went out.
That's fun. I had my just whole computer shut down for no reason and crash yesterday in the middle of a call. And I turned my computer back on and it's totally fine. It wasn't dead, nothing. It just decided to crash. All right. Well, we can adjourn the meeting exactly 2 hours after we started at 8:47 p.m. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you,
Thanks,
Melody.
everybody.
You're great.
Thank you and welcome,
Bye.
Rad.
Thanks for having me this time, guys.
Thanks for attending.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.